Chosen one, those tears streaming down their face right now are about to reveal something that will change everything. But before we get to that devastating truth, you need to understand what just happened in the invisible realm while they performed this pathetic theater of remorse. Because chosen one, those aren't tears of genuine regret you're witnessing. They're the first cracks in a facade that's been crumbling for longer than they realize. And what's about to emerge from behind that mask? Well, that's going to shatter every assumption they've made about who holds the real power here. But hold that thought, because there are three forces converging on their reality right now that they can't see coming. The first force they can sense but can't name. It's that growing dread in their stomach. The second force they felt but dismissed as coincidence. Those strange occurrences that started weeks ago. The third force, that's the one that's about to reveal why this moment was always inevitable. See, what they're experiencing isn't random chaos or unfortunate circumstances. This is the culmination of something that's been building since the very first moment they decided to test your boundaries. Every dismissive laugh, every mocking comment, every attempt to diminish your light, it was all being recorded by forces they never knew existed. And the cosmic joke, they thought they were dealing with just you. How spectacularly wrong they were. While they were busy measuring your patience, calculating how far they could push, plotting their next manipulation, something else was measuring them, something with perfect memory, infinite patience, and absolutely no tolerance for the spiritual arrogance they've been displaying. Your bloodline doesn't just carry power, chosen one. It carries something far more dangerous to those who would misuse their proximity to it. Something that's been dormant until this exact moment when their disrespect crossed a line that should never be crossed. But we're getting ahead of ourselves, because before that sleeping giant fully awakens, you need to understand the three distinct phases of what's unfolding. They've only experienced the tremors of Phase 1. Phase 1 was the subtle unraveling, those strange coincidences they dismissed, the small obstacles they attributed to bad luck, the minor electronics malfunctions they blamed on technology. This was the universe's gentle warning system, cosmic course correction opportunities disguised as everyday inconveniences. They've experienced these tremors, but failed to recognize the pattern. Phase 2 is already in motion, though they don't recognize the signs yet. Phase 3, that's when they'll discover why their tears are just the opening act of something far more profound. They're about to learn that your delusions were actually advance warnings of what was assembling in dimensions they can't access, because you were never alone in this, chosen one. While they were dismissing your spiritual awareness as fantasy, an entire ancestral army was organizing in realms beyond their perception. Generations of warriors, healers, seers, and spiritual gladiators who cleared paths through worlds both seen and unseen, long before your physical form drew its first breath. These weren't just people who died and moved on. These were conscious beings who transcended physical limitation while maintaining active investment in their lineage's protection. They've been watching every interaction, documenting every disrespect, calculating the precise moment when intervention would be both justified and devastating. And that moment has arrived. Your connection wasn't built overnight. It was forged through cycles of beings who faced down darkness and emerged victorious. They passed down more than wisdom or bloodline. They embedded technologies, spiritual technologies that are now coming online with precision, that would terrify your opponents if they possessed the spiritual intelligence to comprehend what's actually happening. But here's what's going to absolutely shatter their remaining confidence. Every ancestor who faced similar opposition left specific protocols designed to activate when their descendant encountered exactly this type of spiritual warfare. You carry codes in your DNA that their spiritual emptiness could never replicate, frequencies their consciousness will never access, technologies their limited awareness cannot detect, let alone defend against. And right now, those ancient safeguards are powering up. Phase 2 involves something they're completely unprepared for. the systematic withdrawal of cosmic protection they never knew they were receiving. Most people never realize they're being subtly guided away from disasters, gently nudged toward better decisions, mysteriously redirected from catastrophic choices until that support disappears. They've been operating on spiritual welfare they didn't know existed, universal GPS that was keeping them from total destruction, invisible safety nets that prevented their arrogance from creating complete catastrophe. All of this operated so subtly, they assumed it was luck, coincidence, or their own intelligence. But when someone repeatedly disrespects a divine vessel, when they consistently choose exploitation over evolution, when they persistently mock what they should revere, the universe begins withdrawing its protection, not as punishment, but as natural consequence. Watch what happens when the training wheels come off their reality. They're already starting to notice the effects, though they haven't connected the dots yet. Electronics behaving strangely around them, conversations stopping when they enter rooms, opportunities evaporating without explanation, private thoughts becoming public knowledge, health issues appearing despite medical clearance, relationships imploding for reasons they can't articulate. But there's something else manifesting that's going to break their minds. True spiritual isolation, not just loneliness or social rejection, but the deafening silence that occurs when divine guidance stops flowing to someone who has repeatedly rejected it. And here's what's really going to shatter their remaining sanity. The invisible forces are just getting started. Because while they were busy dismissing your spiritual abilities as theoretical concepts, those abilities were actually practical technologies capable of dismantling physical realities. While they assumed your ancestral connections were metaphorical poetry, those connections were literal links to forces operating beyond dimensional limitations. They're about to experience what happens when someone connected to generational power decides they've had enough. Not through direct confrontation, that would be beneath your level of operation, but through the systematic activation of protective mechanisms that have been embedded in your spiritual DNA for precisely this type of situation. Your bloodline carriers knew this moment would come. They experienced similar challenges in their own incarnations and left specific instructions encoded in your energetic blueprint, instructions that are now executing with the precision of cosmic software designed to handle threats to chosen vessels. But here's the part that's going to absolutely terrify them. These aren't just protective measures, they're educational tools. Every consequence they're experiencing is calibrated to teach them something specific about the forces they chose to disrespect. Every obstacle appearing in their path is perfectly designed to show them what they were being protected from. Every door closing in their face is demonstrating the opportunities they squandered through their arrogance. The most terrifying aspect for them isn't what they can see, it's what remains invisible yet undeniable. The sense of being watched by eyes beyond physical perception, the nightmares that wake them screaming, drenched in sweat, unable to articulate what they experienced but deeply shaken by encounters their conscious mind cannot process. The whispered names they hear when no one is around, the objects that move without explanation, the electronics that malfunction specifically for them. The message becomes crystal clear: this one is protected. Proceed with respect or face consequences beyond human comprehension. The gentle nudges toward wisdom gone, the intuitive warnings about dangerous paths silent, the synchronicities that prevent disasters vanished, the mysterious obstacles that redirect them away from destruction removed. Now every decision leads to consequences they can't escape. Every path they choose dead ends into exactly what they were being protected from. Every strategy they employ backfires with mathematical precision because they're operating without invisible assistance they never appreciated. Now, here's something that's about to make their blood run cold. They witnessed your gentleness and mistook it for your entirety. They observed your patience and assumed it was your limitation. They experienced your kindness and believed it was your weakness. What cosmic miscalculation! What spiritual blindness! Most people exist in fragments, accessing only portions of their true nature. They're either pure light, with no capacity for necessary darkness, or pure shadow, with no ability to generate illumination. They operate as incomplete beings, half-functioning in a reality that requires wholeness to truly navigate. But you contain the full spectrum. You can heal the deepest wounds with a word or collapse entire realities with a whisper. You can extend compassion that transforms lives or deliver judgment that rewrites destinies. You are both the soft rain that nourishes the garden and the lightning strike that splits the mighty oak, the gentle breeze on a summer day and the hurricane that reshapes coastlines, the healing touch that mends broken spirits and the surgical precision that excises spiritual cancer. This complete duality terrifies them because they've only prepared for one version of you. They've only strategized against your compassionate nature. They've only built defenses against your nurturing aspect. They never anticipated meeting the other half of your spiritual architecture, the half that doesn't negotiate, doesn't compromise, and doesn't grant second chances to those who squander the first one. While they were measuring your kindness, you were measuring their worthiness. While they were calculating how far they could push your boundaries, you were calculating exactly when those boundaries would enforce themselves. While they were plotting their next manipulation, you were observing their pattern with the detached precision of a cosmic surgeon, deciding where to make the first incision. And here's the revelation that's going to haunt their nightmares. They've awakened both sides simultaneously. The gentle, nurturing aspect of your nature, the one they exploited, has stepped aside. Not disappeared, but simply making room for something else to emerge, something they glimpsed but dismissed as impossible, something that's about to teach them the difference between power that announces itself and power that doesn't need to. Because what they failed to recognize is that your silence was never submission, it was strategic calculation. Your restraint wasn't weakness, it was the patient observation of a spiritual predator waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Your kindness wasn't naivety, it was the surgical precision of someone who understands exactly when to heal and when to harm. They couldn't perceive your hidden strength because they weren't spiritually evolved enough to detect it. Like individuals trying to appreciate a symphony while being tone-deaf, they lacked the spiritual receptors necessary to comprehend the magnitude of what stood before them. They saw your gentle exterior and assumed it represented your entirety, never suspecting that beneath your compassionate surface lived something far more formidable. Your patience wasn't fear, it was the calculated restraint of someone who understands that timing is everything in cosmic warfare. Your forgiveness wasn't permission, it was the mercy of someone strong enough to destroy but wise enough to offer alternatives. But they mistook every gift for weakness. They interpreted every grace as an invitation to push further. They translated every moment of patience into license for increased disrespect, and with each misinterpretation they moved closer to awakening something they were never equipped to handle. Now witness the great reversal, the cosmic correction that happens when universal forces restore balance to situations tainted by spiritual arrogance. They once stood over you, casting shadows with their inflated egos, blocking your light with their self-importance, looking down with contempt from positions they never deserved but somehow obtained. They once spoke over you, interrupted your wisdom, dismissed your insights, and rewrote narratives to position themselves as heroes in stories where they were actually the villains. But divine justice operates on a timeline beyond human comprehension. The universe doesn't rush, it aligns. It doesn't forget, it waits. It doesn't forgive without accountability. It orchestrates perfect moments of reckoning where truth cannot be denied, manipulated, or reframed. Now they tremble as the foundation beneath their feet, built on lies and exploitation, begins to crack with fault lines that cannot be repaired. The borrowed energy they've been operating with gets reclaimed by its rightful owners. The masks they've worn begin to slip in public, revealing the true faces they tried desperately to hide. And now comes the truth that will shatter their remaining illusions. You were never the victim in this story. You were the test, Every interaction with you was an examination of their spiritual worthiness. Every moment they chose disrespect over reverence was them failing a cosmic evaluation they didn't even know they were taking. The universe doesn't make mistakes in its appointments, chosen one. You were positioned in their path for a specific purpose, not to be conquered, but to reveal their true nature, and they failed spectacularly. But here's something that will make their failure even more devastating when they finally understand it. You tried to help them pass. Every warning you offered was actually guidance toward spiritual elevation. Every boundary you set was an opportunity for them to demonstrate respect and earn deeper connection. Every moment of patience you extended was a chance for them to recognize the divine grace flowing through your presence. You weren't just tolerating their behavior, you were giving them multiple opportunities to evolve. You weren't just enduring their disrespect, you were providing them with chances to transcend their spiritual limitations. You weren't just surviving their attacks, you were offering them pathways to redemption they were too blind to see, but they chose mockery over growth. They selected exploitation over evolution, they preferred dominance over development, and with each choice, they moved further away from the very elevation they claimed to seek, the very power they pretended to possess, the very enlightenment they desperately needed but consistently rejected. Phase 3 becomes inevitable, because the forces protecting you don't just respond to direct attacks, they respond to patterns. And their pattern of disrespect, exploitation, and spiritual arrogance has triggered something that operates beyond human intervention or negotiation. The tears streaming down their face right now aren't born of genuine remorse. They're the physiological response to their nervous system, recognizing a threat their consciousness can't process. Their body knows something their mind refuses to accept. They've awakened something that doesn't sleep, doesn't forget, and doesn't negotiate. Watch how quickly those tears transform into rage when their emotional manipulation fails. Observe how seamlessly their sorrow becomes resentment when forgiveness isn't immediately granted. Notice how their remorse morphs into vindictiveness when their performance doesn't achieve desired results. This isn't authentic regret, it's strategic theater designed to escape consequences that have already been set in motion. But the cosmic ledger doesn't respond to performances. Universal law doesn't negotiate with manipulators. Divine justice doesn't pause for crocodile tears or reschedule for emotional blackmail. And here's what's going to absolutely devastate them when the full accounting comes due. They've been operating on a cosmic credit system they didn't even know existed. Every moment of borrowed charisma, every instance of stolen wisdom, every demonstration of second-hand spiritual authority, all of it was being tracked by forces that maintain perfect records across multiple dimensions. The universe operates on an energetic economy far more sophisticated than any earthly financial system. Every interaction, every exchange, every taking and giving of spiritual resources is documented with precision that would shock them if they possessed the awareness to comprehend it. They thought they were getting away with spiritual theft. They believed they were successfully manipulating cosmic resources. They assumed they were outsmarting universal law through clever misdirection and emotional manipulation. What they didn't realize is that the universe never sleeps, never forgets, and never fails to collect what is owed. They built their sense of self on foundations that belong to others, constructed their confidence from resources they never earned, projected authority they never possessed. They created elaborate spiritual Ponzi schemes that temporarily convinced others they had what they merely extracted from truly connected beings. But universal law ensures all energetic debts must eventually be balanced. Cosmic accounting maintains perfect records that cannot be altered, manipulated, or erased. Divine auditors never miss discrepancies between what someone projects and what they actually possess. And now comes the audit they never saw coming. Their spiritual bankruptcy is manifesting in ways both subtle and dramatic. The light behind their eyes, never truly theirs, has disappeared, leaving hollow gazes that convince no one. The charisma they once commanded, borrowed from sources they can no longer access, has evaporated, leaving stale energy that repels rather than attracts. But the most devastating loss is the silence they now experience, the deafening absence where divine guidance should reside, the empty void where cosmic communication once flowed, the hollow space where spiritual connection should flourish but cannot penetrate barriers they themselves constructed. This silence will become their constant companion. This void will become their primary residence. This absence will become their most faithful relationship. And here's what's going to make their spiritual bankruptcy even more devastating. They're about to understand that what they're experiencing isn't just personal consequence, it's cosmic education. The universe uses everything, including their opposition to you, to teach lessons that ripple across multiple dimensions. Their downfall becomes a teaching tool for other unconscious beings who might be tempted to make similar mistakes. Your greatest enemies became cosmic elevators without even realizing it. Universal promoters who launched you precisely where you were always destined to stand. Spiritual catapults that positioned you for assignments only you can fulfill. The divine intelligence orchestrates growth using whatever materials are available, including resistance that strengthens spiritual muscles and develops cosmic calluses needed for your next phase. They served their purpose in the cosmic plan perfectly, even while believing they were sabotaging it. Their attacks became your armor, their challenges became your curriculum, their hatred became the fuel for your ascension to levels they will never comprehend, let alone access. But there's something else they're about to discover that will complete their education. They were never actually fighting you. They were fighting the universe itself. Every moment they chose disrespect over reverence. They were declaring war on forces that maintain cosmic order. Every instance they selected exploitation over evolution. They were challenging laws that govern spiritual reality across all dimensions. You were simply the focal point where their unconscious arrogance collided with conscious universal forces, the vessel through which cosmic justice demonstrated what happens when limited beings test unlimited power, the chosen instrument through which divine law educated those who thought they could operate outside spiritual principles without consequence. And that's why their defeat was always inevitable. Not because you were stronger than them, though you are, but because they were attempting to fight forces they couldn't perceive, understand, or effectively engage. They brought human weapons to a cosmic battlefield. They used earthly strategies against celestial opponents. They applied limited thinking to unlimited challenges. The outcome was determined before the first battle began. Because you see, chosen one, their tears aren't just washing down their faces, they're watering something, feeding something, nourishing something that's been waiting in the shadows of their consciousness for exactly this moment of vulnerability. And what's growing in that fertilized ground isn't redemption, it isn't forgiveness, it isn't a second chance or a clean slate or a fresh start. It's the full realization of what they've lost. But here's something they haven't grasped yet, something that will make their current anguish seem like a gentle prelude. They didn't just lose access to you. They lost something far more fundamental, something that once gone can never be retrieved, replaced, or recreated. They lost their cosmic citizenship. There exists a vast network of conscious beings operating across multiple dimensions, all connected by threads of recognition, respect, and spiritual kinship. This network doesn't advertise itself. It doesn't recruit members or send invitations. It simply acknowledges those who demonstrate the spiritual intelligence necessary for inclusion and quietly withdraws recognition from those who reveal their unworthiness through their choices. They were never full members of this network, but their proximity to you had granted them temporary visiting privileges. They could access certain benefits, receive subtle guidance, experience protection they didn't understand, and benefit from synchronicities that seemed like luck but were actually careful orchestration. But those privileges came with unspoken conditions. Treat conscious beings with respect. Recognize divine appointment when it presents itself. Honor the sacred in whatever form it appears. choose growth over stagnation, wisdom over ignorance, connection over exploitation. They violated every single condition repeatedly, flagrantly, arrogantly. And now the network has reached a unanimous decision: permanent exclusion. They're about to discover what existence feels like when the universe stops conspiring in their favor and begins treating them with the same indifference they showed to forces they should have revered. But something else is building in that silence, something they can sense but cannot name, something that grows stronger with each tear they shed, each desperate attempt to manipulate their way back into your good graces, each pathetic performance of remorse they never actually feel. Terror. Not fear of you exactly, but fear of what you represent, fear of vast unknown territories of existence they never suspected existed, fear of forces they cannot control, manipulate or understand, fear of a universe far more complex, mysterious and spiritually sophisticated than their limited worldview ever allowed them to imagine. And in that terror, they will finally understand why you tried to warn them, why you offered guidance they rejected, why you extended wisdom they mocked, why you provided opportunities for course correction they arrogantly dismissed. You weren't trying to control them, you were trying to protect them from this inevitable collision between their unconscious arrogance and conscious universal forces, but they chose their path. They selected their consequences. They authored their own downfall with every choice to disrespect what they should have revered, dismiss what they should have embraced, destroy what they should have cherished. Now I want to take a moment to tell you about a few individuals that shouldn't exist. A former Black Ops drone pilot who flew swarms with his mind. A multi-millionaire psychic CFO who predicted market shifts before they happened. What do these remarkable individuals have in common? You'll find them all in the Obsidian Inner Order, where they share their forbidden knowledge on our private Discord server. My chosen soul has drunk deep from the well of knowledge aeon after aeon. In this incarnation, these extraordinary individuals became my allies in the Obsidian Inner Order. They recognized the call. They stepped forward. They connected with others who understand their unique gifts and burdens. What is stopping you from manifesting the same? The synchronicities that brought them here weren't accidents. Neither is your discovery of this message. When souls of this caliber gather, the Archons take notice. They fear our collective power. They know what happens when the truly awakened find each other. Join our weekly calls. Hear their stories firsthand. Share your own journey with those who won't dismiss or doubt you. The knowledge exchanged in our private channels cannot be found anywhere else on this plane. Click the link in the description below now. The extraordinary souls await your arrival. The question isn't whether you belong among them. The question is, how much longer will you wait to claim your place? But that healing, chosen one, is no longer your responsibility. Your work here is complete. Your lesson has been delivered. Your purpose has been fulfilled. The cosmic forces that move through you have restored balance, educated the unconscious, and demonstrated once again why chosen vessels are protected by powers beyond human comprehension. You can walk away now, knowing that universal justice has been served, divine law has been upheld, and spiritual truth has been revealed through the perfect unfolding of consequences they authored with their own choices. And as you walk toward horizons they will never reach, as you step into destinies they will never comprehend, as you embrace purposes they will never share, remember this: their tears were never about losing you. They were about finally seeing you clearly for the first time and realizing they had been standing in the presence of something magnificent while treating it as ordinary. The cosmic joke writes itself. They spent so much energy trying to diminish your light that they never developed any illumination of their own. They invested so much effort attempting to drain your power that they never cultivated authentic strength. They dedicated so much time to exploitation that they never learned creation. And now, in the silence of your absence, they discover what they could have become if they had chosen to learn from you instead of learning to use you. But that opportunity has passed, that door has closed, that invitation has been permanently withdrawn. You are free, chosen one, and they are exactly where they chose